The scorching August morning sun in Los Angeles could not dispel the darkness within Emily Carter. Once a talented police officer, a rising star of the Los Angeles Police Department, she was now a shadow of her former self. The biggest case of her career, the dismantling of a notorious drug gang led by the infamous kingpin Victor Viper Thorne, had turned into a nightmare. Emily had succeeded in bringing Thorne to justice, but he had exacted a cruel revenge. Her family, her dearest loved ones, had been caught in that spiral of crime. Her parents, who had always supported her, were gone forever in a cleverly orchestrated accident. Her younger brother, a promising medical student, was severely injured and left with permanent consequences. Overwhelming grief had broken Emily. She no longer cared for her job, for life. The wail of police sirens, the flashing red and blue lights, the smell of gunpowder, all brought back horrifying memories. Every night those images returned, haunting her mind, making her wake up in a cold sweat. She felt like a boat lost at sea, without direction, without a shore. She left the force, moved away from the bustling city, seeking a place she believed the past couldn't touch. Emerald Bay, a small coastal town in Oregon where her grandmother once lived. Emerald Bay lived up to its name. The sea was crystal clear, emerald green, white sandy beaches stretched out, and majestic cliffs embraced the coast. Pine trees rustled in the wind, carrying the salty scent of the sea and the fragrance of pine resin. The air here was fresh and cool, completely opposite to the suffocating city. Emily felt as if every burden on her shoulders was gradually lifted, if only temporarily. Emily rented a small wooden house nestled on a hill overlooking the bay. The house was simple and rustic, with wooden walls faded by time, but it brought her a strange sense of peace. From the porch she could gaze at the entire bay, where small boats were anchored and flocks of seagulls soared in the deep blue sky. Every morning she woke to the gentle lapping of waves and the chirping of birds, replacing the car horns and the city's hustle. She spent time walking along the beach, collecting colorful seashells that glistened in the sunlight, or sitting on large rocks, watching the sunrise paint the entire sky red, turning the clouds into shimmering, golden silk ribbons. That scene, though heartbreakingly beautiful, sometimes couldn't fully soothe her pain. Life in Emerald Bay slowly unfolded. Emily gradually found inner peace. She began to paint, a hobby she had long forgotten since her life as a police officer consumed her. Her paintings were filled with the colors of the sea, the sky, and wildflowers along the road, but deep within them was an indescribable sadness. She also frequently visited the community library, where she found joy in old books and the stories of local people, simple, kind-hearted folk. However, the ghost of the past still occasionally reappeared. On sleepless nights, she would see her parents lying motionless, see her brother writhing in pain. At such times, she would go to the beach, letting the sea wind carry away her tears and fears. She knew that to truly heal, she had to confront the past, but she wasn't ready. She was still too weak to face it again. One late afternoon, as Emily was walking along the coastal trail, where fallen golden leaves formed heart shapes on the ground, she heard a faint cry for help. The cry came from the treacherous cliffs, where waves crashing against the shore created strange sounds. Without hesitation, her police instincts kicked in, and she rushed forward, her heart pounding in her chest. At the foot of the cliff, a middle-aged man lay motionless, his clothes tattered, blood oozing from a head wound. His face was pale, yet it exuded a resolute air, a deep inner strength. Emily quickly checked his pulse and breathing. Fortunately, he was still alive, though very weak. She used all her strength, carried him onto the trail, each step heavy, then called for an ambulance. She felt a strange urge, a sense that this man was no ordinary victim. The man was Daniel Sterling, a renowned magnate, chairman of Sterling Holdings, a powerful business empire. He had been betrayed and harmed by his own brother, Michael, and his treacherous wife, Sophia. They had staged a boating accident at sea, pushing him into the deep, intending to seize all his assets and power. But Daniel miraculously survived, washed ashore in Emerald Bay as if by fate. When Daniel woke up in the hospital, he remembered nothing of the accident, partly due to the concussion, partly due to sedatives. Emily stayed by his side, caring for him like a family member, bringing him warmth and comfort. She told him about Emerald Bay, about the peaceful life there, about watching the sunrise in the mornings and strolling on the beach in the afternoons. Daniel felt a strange connection with Emily, a trust he had never felt with anyone in his calculating world. Her eyes, though still tinged with sadness, held a resilience and kindness. After being discharged from the hospital, Daniel decided to stay in Emerald Bay to recuperate. He rented a small villa near Emily's house, a quiet place, isolated from the noise of the outside world. Every day, they walked together on the beach, watching the vibrant sunset paint the sky red, or simply sat together, talking about life. Daniel told Emily about his work, about the pressures of the business world, about complex relationships. Emily gradually opened up, telling him about her painful past, about the haunting presence of Victor Thorne, about her parents' death, and her brother's suffering. Daniel listened to Emily patiently, without interrupting, without judging, without pity. He simply stayed by her side, sharing the burden in her heart, like a solid anchor. Daniel's warmth and sincerity greatly relieved Emily, as if a heavy stone had been lifted from her heart. She realized that she was not alone, and perhaps this was the beginning of a new chapter in her life. As Daniel's health gradually recovered, his memory also returned, fragmented pieces slowly connecting into a complete picture. He remembered the accident, recalled the treacherous faces of Michael and Sophia, remembered their threats and the coldness in their eyes. He knew this was not a mere accident, but a meticulously planned conspiracy, a cruel betrayal. Daniel decided to investigate the matter, not only to reclaim what he had lost, but also to bring those who had harmed him to light. He asked Emily for help. With her experience as a former police officer, Emily meticulously helped Daniel gather evidence, tracing Michael and Sophia's every move. They traveled together to Los Angeles, where Daniel once lived and worked, where dark secrets awaited exposure. In Los Angeles, they uncovered a horrifying truth. Michael and Sophia had conspired with Victor Thorne, Emily's sworn enemy. Thorne had helped them stage the accident in exchange for a huge share of the profits from Sterling Holdings. He was also the one who had murdered Emily's parents and injured her brother, a grim coincidence beyond imagination. The truth's revelation stunned Emily. The old pain surged back stronger than ever, like a wound just healed being torn open again. But this time, she didn't collapse. She had Daniel by her side, who had experienced similar pain, and she had a clear goal: to make those who committed the crimes pay, not only for herself, but also for her parents and brother. They worked together to gather more evidence, seeking out witnesses. Emily used her investigative skills, analyzing every small detail, from suspicious calls to shady financial transactions. Daniel used his power and influence to access classified information, files that ordinary people couldn't touch. They worked tirelessly, determined to bring the truth to light, despite all dangers. During the investigation, they faced many difficulties and dangers. Michael and Sophia, along with Victor Thorne, tried every means to silence them, from subtle threats to direct attacks. There were times when they almost lost their lives, but Emily and Daniel did not back down. They knew that justice had to be served, and they were the only ones who could do it. Emily's resilience and Daniel's determination created an unshakable force. Finally, with undeniable evidence, witness testimonies, and irrefutable physical proof, Michael, Sophia, and Victor Thorne were arrested and brought to trial. The case shocked the entire nation. Justice was served, and a dark chapter in Emily and Daniel's lives closed. After the case, Emily and Daniel returned to Emerald Bay, carrying the scars of the past but also full of hope for a bright future. They had gone through difficult challenges together, and their love grew deeper, like an invisible thread connecting two souls. Daniel helped Emily heal her emotional wounds, helping her regain faith in life, in people. Emily helped Daniel find meaning in life, escaping the whirlwind of fame and money, realizing the true value of happiness. They decided to build a new life in Emerald Bay, a simple yet meaningful life. Daniel abandoned his business in Los Angeles, handing over the management of the corporation to a trusted manager whom he had long relied on. He dedicated his time to Emily, to the simple life in Emerald Bay, to the small things he had never had time to cherish before. They bought a larger house with a spacious garden right by the sea, where they could hear the gentle lapping of waves every night. Emily planted all kinds of flowers, turning the garden into a colorful and fragrant paradise where birds chirped every morning. Daniel built a small art studio for Emily right in the garden, where she could freely create, transforming her emotions into meaningful works of art. Every morning, they enjoyed breakfast together on the porch, watching the sunrise over the bay. Golden rays of sunlight stretched across the water, creating a beautiful scene, like a living painting. They walked together on the beach, collecting seashells, building sandcastles, or simply holding hands, feeling the cool sea breeze. They cooked, read, and talked about everything in life, from small daily stories to grand future dreams. Their lives were filled with laughter and happiness. Emily was no longer haunted by the past. She had forgiven herself, and she had found a true love, a peaceful haven for her soul. Daniel also found inner peace. He realized that happiness was not in money or fame, but in the simplest things: love, family, and inner peace. They also regularly invited Emily's younger brother to visit. Her brother, after undergoing treatment and rehabilitation, gradually recovered, both physically and mentally. He found joy in tending the garden with Emily. And he also learned to paint, finding a new passion. In the evenings, the whole family gathered together, having dinner, telling stories, and playing games. Those warm family moments helped Emily's brother overcome difficulties and helped Emily feel more complete, as if a missing piece of her life had been filled. Emerald Bay had become their home, where they found healing and happiness. Life here did not have the sparkling lights of the city, nor the pressures of the business world, but it had peace, sincerity, and love, things more precious than anything. Life in Emerald Bay was not just Emily and Daniel's love story, but also a story of the simple beauty of life, of connection with nature and people. Every day, they discovered new things in this small town, things they had never had time to notice before. They frequently visited the local fish market, where fishermen brought in the freshest catches, with noisy hawkers and the distinct smell of the sea. Emily learned to prepare traditional seafood dishes of the region, from simple to complex, rich with the flavors of the sea. Daniel enjoyed learning about different fish species and the fishermen's methods, stories of the vast ocean and long voyages. They also participated in the town's community activities. Emily volunteered to teach art to children at the local school, instilling in them a passion for art and an appreciation for the beauty of Emerald Bay. Daniel helped farmers develop sustainable business models, benefiting the community. They became an indispensable part of the community, loved and respected by everyone, not only for their contributions, but also for their sincerity and simplicity. In the afternoons, they often cycled along the coastal road, admiring the majestic cliffs where foamy waves crashed against the shore, creating magnificent sounds. They stopped at small roadside cafes, enjoying hot coffee and fragrant pastries. Gazing at the peaceful scenery of the bay, they also often hiked in the lush green pine forests where the air was fresh and cool, carrying the scent of earth and leaves. They discovered small streams, hidden waterfalls, and colorful wildflowers like precious gems amidst the pristine wilderness. In autumn, Emerald Bay donned a new coat, vibrant and poetic. The trees along the road turned brilliant yellow and red, creating a poetic landscape like a giant oil painting. Emily and Daniel often drove along these roads, feeling the changes in nature, the cycle of life. On weekends, they often organized small picnics with Emily's younger brother and their new friends in Emerald Bay. They grilled food, sang songs, and told jokes. Laughter echoed throughout the space, dispelling all worries and sorrows, leaving only peace and happiness. Their lives were not filled with luxury or extravagant parties, but they were full of meaning. They found joy in the simplest things, in connection with nature and people in every passing moment. Family was the most important element in Emily and Daniel's lives, the foundation of their happiness. They always made time for each other, creating warm and memorable moments, memories that would stay with them for a lifetime. Emily's younger brother, after fully recovering, decided to move to Emerald Bay to live with his sister and brother-in-law. He found a part-time job at the local library and continued to pursue his passion for painting, finding a new path for his life. Every evening, the whole family gathered around the dining table, enjoying delicious meals prepared by Emily and Daniel themselves, with lively chatter and laughter. They talked about what had happened during the day, shared funny stories, and listened to each other's confessions, creating a cozy and loving atmosphere. During holidays, they decorated the house together, prepared small gifts, and hosted warm parties, inviting friends and neighbors to join in the fun. Laughter and joy filled the entire house, spreading throughout the neighborhood. Emily and Daniel also frequently took her brother on trips. They explored beautiful beaches, majestic mountains, and ancient cities, each leaving an indelible mark. Every trip was a memorable experience, helping them bond more deeply and understand each other better. They also frequently visited the cemetery where Emily's parents rested. Emily no longer cried or grieved. She just stood there, telling her parents about her happy life, about Daniel's love, and about her brother's recovery. She knew that her parents would be very happy to see her happy, and she felt a sense of peace in her heart. Daniel also frequently brought Emily to visit his family. Although his brother and ex-wife had betrayed him, Daniel still had other relatives who had always loved and supported him. Emily was warmly welcomed by Daniel's family, and she felt truly a part of that family, a large, warm, and loving family. Those warm family moments helped Emily and Daniel heal their emotional wounds and helped them build a complete and happy life, a life they had never dared to dream of. As time passed, Emily and Daniel led a fulfilling life in Emerald Bay. They not only found love, but also peace, healing, and the meaning of life, things that money could not buy. Emily continued to paint, and her works became increasingly known, not only in Emerald Bay, but also elsewhere. She held small exhibitions in Emerald Bay, and her paintings always sold out quickly. She used a portion of the proceeds to help disadvantaged children in the local area, giving them a better life. Daniel dedicated his time to community projects. He established a charity fund, helping the poor in Emerald Bay, improving their lives. He also participated in environmental protection activities, contributing to preserving the beauty of the bay, which had brought him peace. Emily's younger brother also found the love of his life. He married a local girl, and they lived a happy life with adorable children. Emily and Daniel were delighted to see their brother happy, and they felt their family growing larger. Their lives were not always smooth sailing. There were still difficulties and challenges, but they always stood by each other, overcoming every storm. They knew that with love and faith, they could overcome anything, any obstacle in life. Emerald Bay, once the place Emily fled from her past, had now become her home, where she found true happiness, where she could be herself. Every morning as the sun rose, painting the entire sky red, Emily and Daniel held hands, gazing at that beautiful scene. They knew that life was a long journey, and they would always walk it together, toward a new dawn, filled with hope and love, a bright future awaiting them.